Anyway, so I wanted my store, and I thought, well, I'll just take a few seeds, or have someone keep a few seeds back or whatever, and they can go and plant those seeds, and then I'll have seeds for my store or stores. Anyway, so I thought, just take a couple seeds from somebody, or I'll buy a couple seeds from somebody, and then I'll have them planted. And I'll pay somebody to plant my seeds and grow them, and then I can have them for my store, and my store with stuff in it, a stone, a stone axe, a stone hammer, and a stone shovel. It wasn't much, and some hemp rope, of course. So, and at the back, some seeds, some grain. But of course, seeds go bad. So once I had a few seeds, I had them selling them or whatever them for a while, and there was a couple huge floods where people needed seeds or whatever, and I was able to sell them or trade them. And there was a couple times when there were too many seeds, and it had something had to be done with it. So that's how I kind of got into the grain mill. Maybe I started. I needed to make it into something. So anyway, I don't know. It depends on how you look at my life um, from where I was as an inventor to my little silly idea of having a store. And at different parts of my life, I had different thoughts. I was like, well, I'll just do this, and then maybe I'll make some bread or something. I'll make something out of the seeds. I didn't know what I could make, but I had a huge supply. I had a supply of seeds. Probably not that many to start with. I think I eventually had one farm or two farms or something with my seeds, and I had to pay for the land to be leveled, and later on, I think I built a bigger building over there. I mean, I don't know. It was one of my little spots. I had my little farm, and it was my farm, and with my seeds, and they were going to be supplying my stores. And I had a couple stores, and every town I'd put my store, and if I could, my hotel or saloon with my piano. And that meant I also had to be able to build pianos as well, which I had one factory with a couple people putting out pianos for all my different little hotels. So every hotel, I'd be like, kind of piano. So I kind of had this like little standard put together package after a while, where I was putting together stuff for a certain way. Like I have my little store, have my little hotel or my inn, which usually basically was pretty much barracks for people. And then later on, as more and more houses got built and stuff, it wasn't needed for barracks, and then it could be my hotel, which people that bought a ticket on my carriage service could stay at for one night or whatever until they get the next carriage. And it was a basic, just general, small little idea when I was trying to do world travel at some point, or let people travel around. I mean, people would walk or take their own horse, I guess. I don't know. I was doing travel, and so I had these ideas of, like, like my little inn or saloon, and and I went about it a different way, I think, eventually later on. But basically, I had my little saloon and my store, and they were owned by me, and I just paid employees to work at them, but it didn't cost that much, really. I mean, it's just one or two people basically to work at a store, and this was a long time ago. So and they'd get paid their wage plus whatever I made, which really isn't much when you get right down to it. Um, I mean, nobody really needed a store. I mean, who's going to need a store? Locals don't need a store. I mean, maybe if they need another hammer. But anyway, eventually my, and like I said, it was a stone shovel, a stone, a stone hammer. It wasn't much. It was pathetic, really. I had some hemp rope in the corner, probably. Walls made of dirt, and stuff. But it was mine, and that was what mattered to me. So along with everything else, I had my little store, which was going to be mine. And while I did things, and I just kind of like did this own little thingy, where I had my store, and then later on I had a little wagon wheel, um, a wagon and carriage shop, just like my first blacksmith shop. And every mine had a blacksmith shop, and I always wanted to have like my own little blacksmith shop of other places and stuff. So, or I included my blacksmith shop with my mines. I don't know. It depends on when you look at it or when you pick up with my story. How like I started out, I was doing all this other stuff, world shaping, world creation, and on the side I had this little store and a couple of little things. I had a couple of little things going for just me, and like my store and like my and eventually later on I had like my food place where people would come to eat good food. But who's gonna buy good? Who's really seriously? No one's ever gonna do that. They want something, they go out to their pasture and they kill it. Chickens are everywhere. Deer is everywhere. So, I was like, well, it's not going to suck. I'm never going to make any money, but it's a dream. So, so that's kind of where it started and stuff. And, and while I was doing all these other things, like I had my little store, and eventually I had my first food place. Later on, I had my first sake place or alcohol place, and it was just mine, my little factory, my little place of alcohol or food or drink. Like I always wanted to have a place where you could drink alcohol, and then if you're drunk, you go up to your room or whatever, or like a meet, it was a general dream. I'm basically describing the first saloons, of course. And they were made using my timber. I had forests, so I was like, well, I want to build these things, so we'll take down so many trees of mine and we'll build these places. So, because I eventually had my own timber. So I used it to build my saloon and my store. And sell some lumber in the back as well. So, because, I thought, I'll sell some pine. Pine grows pretty easy, so I'll set up a little sawmill and I can sell some timber in the back of my store as well. Wouldn't that be cool? Seeds and a couple stone tools and some timber in the back. Just basic stuff. I didn't have a lot to offer back then. So now I don't even know if anybody even bought anything from my store really. So, but then later on, I had a couple more factories. So, I finally was able to not just have stone tools. I could have metal tools. Finally, I had spent some money on research and stuff, and finally I could have a shovel, a metal shovel, and a metal pickaxe. I was like, yes, I'll just put those in my store. First of their kind. And I really thought I was providing something to some people.